Sixth graders, hello. My name is Cecily, and I am here with a 15-minute-ish video that is an overview of all of the awesomeness you will be studying as a sixth grader, and that is encapsulated by the phrase ancient civilizations. Quick look. We start with hominins. Some textbooks will call them hominids, but hominins, not homonyms, hominins. Hominins are all the versions of human beings that lead up to us. And the Neolithic Revolution, which was this radical idea that instead of us going and hunting down food, we would bring the food to us. We will then look at Mesopotamia, which is the land between two rivers. We'll move on to Egypt and its relationship with Cush, its neighbor to the south. Guys, you're going to go to Israel. Moses, the 10 Commandments, monotheism, Israel. You're going to go to India. You're going to meet Siddhartha Gautama. You're going to talk to this guy Ashoka and see what he had to say about nonviolence. You're going to go to China, and the guy who would want me to mention him the most is Qin Shi Huangdi, because Qin Shi Huangdi was a very powerful person. You're going to go to the Mediterranean and study the culture and contributions of Greece. And then you're going to wind up the year in Rome, which is a lovely place to be. Maybe not necessarily in ancient Rome, because the sewage system, while it existed, is not that great. Okay, so why are we going to do this overview of each of these civilizations? Because of a thing called schema. I have schema, you have schema, every human being has schema. Schema is our current understanding of the world. Your schema in your head is everything that you already know. How many planets are there? How many colors are there in the rainbow? That's all a part of your schema. And every year of school, every book that you read, every TED Ed you watch, every conversation you have, guys, adds to your schema. And I do think an important point about schema is as we learn, we can also change some of the misinformation in our schema. Because sometimes we have crazy ideas in there, guys. Crazy ideas that we're not even aware of. So this year, like every year in school, you're going to be adding a lot of interesting information to your schema. So, where do we begin? We begin with hominins, which means in the world we're going to start in Eastern Africa, because everything, all evidence points to the fact that all human beings, we all originated in Eastern Africa. So, for context, I am sitting right here in the city of Los Angeles. I'm in the state of California. So to get to Eastern Africa, we're going to travel across the United States of America. Hello, New York. We're crossing the Atlantic Ocean. Hello, Morocco, as we enter Africa. And we're going to be looking along the eastern coast of Africa, specifically a place called the Olduvai Gorge in Tanzania. And we'll also be looking at Ethiopia, because that's where the bones of a woman now named Lucy were found. So, for hominins, this is the one thing that I think is helpful to know before you jump into reading and thinking about it. We looked in my class just at 4 stages of hominins as we evolved and figured things out and our brains grew. We started with Australopithecus, and that's what Lucy was, Australopithecus. Homo habilis, which means handy. Homo erectus, when we were standing up fully straight. And Homo sapiens. So we would do the evolution flow, which is Australopithecus, Homo habilis, Homo erectus, Homo sapiens. And it is Homo sapiens who take us to the Neolithic Revolution. Because again, it was this radical idea that instead of us chasing after food and acting as hunter-gatherers, where every single person in our community was just dedicated to finding food, follow it, move your shelters to go follow the animals and find the fruits and plants that were ripe. The Neolithic Revolution said, no, we're not going to keep moving and following food. Instead, we're going to build fences. We are going to bring the food to us. We are going to domesticate these animals and tell them, no, you are going to do what we tell you to, and we're going to eat you. And they discovered about seeds. Oh, we can plant seeds where we want our crops to grow. Amazing Neolithic Revolution. And it had all kinds of radical consequences. And you are going to think and learn about them. So the Neolithic Revolution really takes us to Mesopotamia. So we move from Eastern Africa. And we are going to go to this place that we now call Mesopotamia. And you know what that means? Meso means middle. Potamus, right? River. It's the land between two rivers, also called the Fertile Crescent. Those two rivers are the Euphrates and the Tigris River, and they flow down into the Persian Gulf. Mesopotamia, why do we study it? Because it is one of the first places where we can see evidence of the Neolithic Revolution, and that evidence is agriculture. Agriculture is where you tame animals and you grow crops and you produce food. Agriculture in the Fertile Crescent. Another reason, cuneiform. The Sumerians, all the people, the Babylonians who lived in Mesopotamia, the land between two rivers, they came up with writing, right? It's one of the earliest examples that we have found of human beings say, hey guys, guess what? We don't have to be in the same room together in order to communicate. I'm going to scratch out some symbols, in this case on clay, I'm going to let it dry, and then you can take this clay tablet, you can go take it to somebody else far away, and they can read it to understand what I wanted to communicate. Radical, changed everything. So that is Mesopotamia. From Mesopotamia, as you can see, we're going to travel into Egypt and its southern neighbor, Kush. So we go from the Fertile Crescent, Mesopotamia, and we go down to Egypt. What body of water do you think of as soon as you hear the word Egypt? The river is the Nile. Everything that you study about Egypt is going to be really focused on the Nile River, which is fascinating because it actually travels from south to north. And the Nile Delta is at the tippy top of Egypt. And that is where their agriculture was amazing because they had all of this rich, rich, rich dirt coming where the river ended at the Nile Delta. And I do just want to point out that one woman who you will be looking at is Hatshepsut. She is such an interesting look at power and how people get power and keep power, because Hatshepsut said, no one is going to take my power away. They also had a form of writing, just like Mesopotamian cuneiform, and I bet you know what that is called. We've got an example of it right here. Their form of writing in Egypt was called hieroglyphics. Great. So we've gone from hominins and the Neolithic Revolution into Mesopotamia, into Egypt. The next civilization. Oh, and don't forget Kush. Never forget Kush. Kush was Egypt's southern neighbor who you will be studying, and you'll see how they traded and how they interacted. in their daily lives. And then you will go to Israel. Israel changed the world with Judaism because it was the first monotheistic civilization. Mesopotamia, Egypt, Kush, very polytheistic, which means they had tons and tons and tons of gods and different gods in charge of different things. Israel really changed the course of the world by saying, no, we think there is only one God. Monotheism is the way. And their religion was Judaism. Do you know who the person was who showed the 10 Commandments? In Israel, Moses. You'll be looking at Moses when you are looking at Israel and all the things that Israel contributed to our world. And you know what? I'm going to do it. Guys, the globe. So important because look how close Israel is to Egypt. Blip. You're just going to hop up, blip, to Israel. And you're probably going to read the story of the Exodus of Jewish people from Egypt to Israel. From Israel, we go to India. And did you guys know this? Where do you think the Buddha is from? The Buddha, also known as Siddhartha Gautama, was actually born in India and became enlightened in India. And Buddhism developed in India. So you will be looking at the Buddha in India, you'll be looking at Hinduism in India, and you're also going to be looking at an emperor known as Ashoka. And I always love to give Ashoka a shout out because unlike all of these other civilizations that were so violent and that were so warlike and that were like, we're going to conquer people by force, Ashoka said, guys, nonviolence is the way. As a leader, Ashoka. Very different from Ashoka, who is here in India, is Qin Shi Huangdi. Do you know where Qin Shi Huangdi is from? There's a clue in the name because Qin Shi Huangdi is from China. China, another fascinating unit and civilization that you will be studying. And originally, guys, I was just going to talk about Qin Shi Huangdi because that's what he would want. He called himself not just the Emperor of China, but the Emperor of the whole universe. Qin Shi Huangdi. I mean, wow. This guy is fascinating and a little scary to study. But I do also want to give your schema the heads up that you will also get to read and learn about Confucius and his Analects. He was a much nicer man than Qin Shi Huangdi. So much nicer. So it's very cool because you get to look at the golden age of philosophy in China, which includes Confucius, includes a man named Lao Tzu, and includes a very mean man. And again, I'm sorry to pass judgment, but he's so mean, Han Feisu. And he was the guy who Qin Shi Huangdi was like, yeah, power and force. That's how we get things done. So that's China. After China, you've got 2 more destinations. The next one is Greece. Do you know which sea Greece is located in? The Mediterranean. And in there you can probably see, Medi means in the middle. With Terranean, it's talking about La Tierra. Mediterranean, in the middle of the earth. Greece is awesome. Was Greece monotheistic? No, no, no. Super polytheistic. And it's always super interesting to learn about their gods in their mythology. And I hope that when you are studying Greece, and they're so interesting about how they view power and political power and how people should have power. There's also this guy Homer, who wrote the Odyssey with Odysseus. Delightful. It is this epic tale where he does get helped out and hurt by a lot of the different Greek gods. If you get a chance, pick up a copy. Homer's Odyssey. And so from Greece, which I will, again, look up on the map. From Greece, which is surrounded by water. Here, right? All these islands, Greece. There's the mainland and all these Greek islands. We are going to end up in Rome, guys. It's the boot that's kicking into the Mediterranean. And, you know, I have a question for you with Romulus and Remus, which is a famous myth that you will probably be looking at. Two twins. Things do not end well for one of them. Who is that? A question to think about as you go forward into this year. Rome, you take a look at empire, because Rome, much like Alexander the Great earlier in Macedonia and Greece, Rome went everywhere as an empire. Roads, a lot of Roman roads you're going to look at. And your unit and your time in ancient civilizations may very well end with an individual named Constantine. And I'm going to leave this for you as a question. What did Constantine do? Who cares about Constantine? Why is Constantine so important? That's it, guys. All these ancient civilizations that you are going to be adding into your schema. The note that I want to end on is the question, who is your best teacher? Who is your best teacher? Now, the answer is the same for all of you. Because you know what the answer is, in my humble opinion? You. You are your own best teacher. I did not learn this lesson until I was 17, and I was reading about this woman for academic decathlon. I was reading about Artemisia Gentileschi, and I thought, what influenced this artist? What made her the way she was? And then it was like I could feel the light bulb go off. It's like, I can go learn about her. Like, the teacher didn't tell me to, and it's not assigned reading, but I can go learn about Artemisia Gentileschi. And I went and talked to the librarian, who gave me some amazing books about this intense Italian artist. Who is your best teacher? You are. Every day when you go to school, you determine how much you're going to learn and what you're interested in. I mentioned briefly Alexander the Great. I learned so much from my students based on what they nerded out on. It was a student named David Magana who introduced me to the Macedonian phalanx, which is the way Alexander the Great and his dad organized their soldiers in a very effective way. I didn't know about that. It was a student who taught me that, because that's what he was interested in. So my hope is that as you go through the Neolithic Revolution, Mesopotamia, Egypt, Israel, India, China, Greece, and Rome, find out what you're interested in and you study that. You want to learn about the shadoof as a form of irrigation? Do it and teach the people around you, because who is your best teacher? You. Have a fantastic time traveling around the world and throughout time. And I really hope that you enjoy ancient civilizations.